okay, it's alright, it's okay. Yeah, I ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried about nothing at all.
Hey, what's up? This is Troy NōKA, and this is The Process. I got my good friend Caleb, executive producer, mixing engineer for your favorites like A$AP Rocky, Jasmine Sullivan, Nicki Minaj, Frank Ocean's Blonde, Endless. That's how we met. What's up, man?
That's gonna trip. That's gonna trip some people up. I'm gonna set it straight because I like to come clean. But
Okay.
I engineered a lot of that stuff and did not mix it. But there are some like hot mixing credits still. I'm gonna just say that. I'll clear it up. Or we'll just leave it to the imagination.
Either way, you were there.
That's true.
But dope, man. I say we just jump into some music stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
I love how your vocals are always really like smooth, like just the stuff that I was listening to that you worked on and what I know you worked on. So how do you achieve that? Like what's the
Honestly, it's like really simple, especially when you're working with really good singers. The dynamics can be so out of control. So like, not necessarily in a bad way, but yeah, obviously you want dynamics to give songs that kind of feel. But because of that, I end up going super light on basically everything that I do. So from like the compressor, almost every single aspect, at least on the recording side, is generally like very, very raw. I like really raw from like the very beginning. I want to leave things raw until I have to like start to like make it a little like flashier necessarily. It also kind of like helps you make sure you've like made a good choice about like your microphone and like your placement and like whatever else.
Yep.
So that's like the starting point. If you can start there, then you give everybody the chance to succeed. Even if you're not the one mixing it, everybody has like a chance to succeed. And it also gives you the most freedom as far as where you want to take it from there. And that's easily switched up when it comes to like, oh, we want this like specific thing here, we want this like here. But in general, for some, I wish there was something else to it. It's for me, it's been like that. And then I think in other aspects, it's been a long road of like learning, It's
Yeah.
just been,
For people that aren't sure what you mean by raw though, like what would you
I mean, like, it's almost like if I could almost go for like, what does your voice sound like right now in this room? Instead of being like, oh, if I could make this sound like everything I hear on the radio right now, like, what would I do? Instead of that, it's like, well, what does your voice sound like to you? And like, what does it naturally sound like in this space that we're in? And like, how can I convey that initially at least? And then like, if I can like convey that, then I think at least for the artist, usually we're in like a really good place for the artist immediately. Because it's like, if that's how they like perceive themselves and that's like how we're catching it, then like, great. We can go anywhere from there.
Right. They're like, okay, this sounds natural.
It's like, this just sounds like me. This is what it, and it's like sometimes just a little bit of room.
All that stuff.
Yeah, not really. Sometimes just a little bit of room because like we're all used to hearing like ourselves inside of a space. So it's like sometimes just a little bit of room is like enough. And honestly, it's not a comfortable way for everybody to work. But if you can, then it's incredibly, it's useful. You're working, like you're making sure. Exactly. And it's like, no
assistance, nobody helping hold a weight for you.
And what's good and what's not right away. It's nothing's hidden.
That's dope. What do you say is what's some do's and don'ts when it comes to creation?
Okay. In general,
still in the music world, but yeah.
Right.
Because you can go broad with that. You can go really broad. You like
No, I think some don'ts. I think the don'ts are like, maybe I shouldn't say they're obvious, but the don'ts are like, don't hold yourself back in any area. Don't. This is something that I do a lot, which is like it's really easy to compare. I don't like comparing myself necessarily to other people often while I'm doing it. I'll do that after way too much. It's like overkill. But like in the process, I don't like doing it as much because I I have such a reverence, I think, for everything that has like come before me that it really stunts me. It's like stunted me in like a lot of my growth as is like where I'm at right now. It's kind of like already sort of stunted that place, just like the comparison. So I think being free of that is like a super important thing for me personally.
Mm.
Uh, I think in the space you want something to feel comfortable. This is the thing that I think this is what I say. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is how I feel. This is like what separates me from like some of my peers is that I'm really not afraid to like say something like silly or like accidentally do something stupid or like something clumsy or whatever, and just kind of like I like when a room feels super open. And sometimes that's like you saying, you're just saying something off top that's like not, maybe that wasn't like all the way there, but like we all kind of like do that sometimes. So if you open up the space for that right away, especially early on, if it's like a first time like working with somebody or whatever, this is I guess in regards to working with other people, if you can like set this tone that it's just like, man, it's going to be okay. If this goes down, it's really going to be okay. If you can set that tone really early, then I think, especially for creativity, you like create this space of, I don't know, this space where like anything is possible. And like, if you come out with something weird, cool, whatever, okay, weird stuff happens in real life all the time. So, if it happens one day in like your workspace, fine.
I'm with you though on that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's made me look dumb a lot, like a number of times, I'm sure. But I think the end goal beats out me looking like if we create the best product and it takes me like looking foolish, I'm cool. Let's go.
Yeah, nah, that's great. I think it's very important to break the ice. I feel like that's what you're saying. You like come in there, break the ice, make sure everybody feels comfortable so that it's just good energy when you're creating.
Mm-hmm. Those were two. That was one do and one don't. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's solid. I'm gonna move my mic. I love that we can just edit stuff and like,
Of course.
we can make mistakes because it's like,
Yeah, just make me sound good. That's it, right?
but I'm like, my mic is giving me head basically.
I see that. I see this now.
Fix it. I don't know why that keeps happening because it's so freaking tight.
Hey, we're out here looking for a sponsorship for the Troy NōKA process show. We're looking for mic stands. If anybody knows someone,
Right? Like,
what's trying to send the mic stand out, we'll give you a shout out.
I'm trying to figure out. Like, it starts here. I'm like about to break my hand tightening.
Nah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah. Listening to like your stuff too. Like, I think you like kill it with like it always has great depth perception and it has that 3D sound to it. Like, what effects are you using? What are your like go-to effects?
I'm super off top with that as well. So I have certain things that I gravitate towards in like a certain time period, right? So for instance, right now I really like, I think non-lin reverbs are in like a really good space. So I love non-lins for like really like different spaces. I really like chambers right now for certain things, especially for like a lot of guitars and vocals. Like I like chambers and like non-lins, and like I was kind of in a non-lin phase. Now I'm in a chamber phase, but like I feel like I moved through these things. I got taught by this dude named Russ Elevato, who's like his kind of thing was just like, okay, we're gonna be here and we're gonna like do this mix, and then we're gonna do the next mix, and when we do that, we're gonna start new, and this is like a new song, this is like a new mix, and like here we are, and so I think I take that mindset definitely from like session to session, and then like I think from song to song sometimes as well, but I'll definitely have things that I can like pull in quick. It's not like really template based. It's like, oh, I did this 2 songs ago, I'm gonna bring this in because I know that I have like a room here, and like there's like a room, there's like something that I can make a crazy delay with, there's something I can make like a normal delay with, there's something I can make like a bigger space with, and it's like that's kind of what that's like we can build from there.
So
and I like
actual rooms to do it, or are you like using plugins like Valhalla or something like that?
Nah, plugins. I mean, I can get plugin specific, but that stuff like changes all the time. I
Yeah.
think that's like more about. I think
Throw
that's
like
more
throw
about.
like two out there, just some jewels for the
Mm,
just some jewels for the.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned something from. I learned this R verb. Uh, I learned some R verb stuff for like pop. That's like R verb is great for pop when you just like if you want to like set that space like that like pop space up, then R verb will do it. And it's just like any of those big spaces really. But that's
Arthur
definitely
by
one.
Waves.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then other than that, obviously like all the UAD stuff is cool. This new Abbey Road chamber plugin is super ill from Waves. And then what else? There's like a studio reverb that Avid has built into Pro Tools right now that I really like as
So,
well. So I think I'm about to go through a spring phase though. That's like it seems like
spring delays,
yeah,
spring
spring
reverb.
reverbs. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Spring delays. Let's go.
yeah,
Let's
they need
create
to do
something
it, man.
new.
For real.
Yo. Okay.
Throw the spring reverb through the delay. Like I just heard that Valhalla made a delay now, so Valhalla has a delay. I haven't checked it out yet.
It was free for a minute there. You should have
Oh
you should have
yeah,
got on. Yeah,
see,
I'm pretty sure. I think it's out now, but like
I was so on the
it's
delay. I was like, I'm good. You know?
H delay is that other thing that'll just like immediately put you into like pop zone. Immediately.
Yeah.
It's like all you do is just throw a quarter-inch H delay on or quarter note delay H delay, and you're kind of in that zone immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
But this new Valhalla thing is you're gonna have to try it.
Yeah.
It's like I guess I haven't mixed with it yet, so I really wouldn't know. But as far as like in the creation phase, super wild for like keyboards, super wild for like wild effects. It's great. I'm sure it can be dialed back. I just haven't gotten to that place yet.
That's crazy. Yeah, I definitely want to get into more like outboard gear and stuff like that. Like I was working with Roger, had a session. He brought this big keyboard, like brand new Nord. I think it's the Nord 3.
Right.
But it was making some crazy sounds. And
Did he upload stuff into it or?
It's just, I think it was just stock, but it was just bomb, crazy fire, beautiful sounds. And I was just like, it just reminded me like, yeah.
What do you use right now?
I got outboard gear. Like I'm saying, you can't see it right here, but I have a MV8000, like old school MPC.
I remember that guy. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because you're producing too. Like you had
nowadays for the most part, other than some favors, which sounds really obnoxious, but I'm just trying to focus, and so in that way, if there's like plenty of people, if you ask me to mix something, Troy, that's like, that's probably gonna happen. So
yeah. Well, I'm about to take advantage of that probably.
Let's go. Okay, I like it, honestly. Like I still really enjoy it. That's never going to change, and I don't think that skill will ever go away as far as like even being able to like run up and just like engineer something. It's like, and that stuff's always going to come in handy for myself, but I think I don't think it's something I want to like put away forever necessarily, but for the time being, I think it's all right. Like keeping off to the side is like fine for me.
Yeah, we were talking about that, like the whole idea of like doing more than one thing, like and you can multitask, but it's great to master one thing and then move on to the next thing.
And Eno used to do that apparently. This is something I read. I can't remember, and hopefully I would hate to be wrong about this, but I hope I'm right. Maybe it wasn't Eno, but I feel like it was somebody that I read about who used to buy like one piece of gear at a time, so like one keyboard at a time, and he would just like master it and just like end it basically. And like once he would just like end this thing, and once he was done with it, it was like, cool, give me the next one. And like, yeah, I love that philosophy. I love the philosophy of like one thing at a time, in that sense where it's like, even though I'm not living it right now, but I like the philosophy of just like this one. I do only own like one synthesizer, and it's not here, but but that is like my baby right now. And one day maybe I'll get through it and get something else.
Yeah, heck yeah, nah, for sure. Yeah, I think that whole thing, like, you hear people saying like being a jack of all trades, like, but I think that goes wrong if you're not taking time mastering one thing at a time. If you're not mastering it and then moving on, then it's like you will be all over the place. How many takes do you think it takes to really get that magic one?
That is super individualistic for
Yep.
starters. We'll start there.
Yep.
Really good players. Sometimes like you really want to be recording for that first take. You really want to be. And subsequently, like a lot of times, let's say it's like really good players, right? Like let's say it's like, like the dudes of our, like Chris Dave, like Pino, like all these dudes, like these guys are like, that can be like, that can be as easy as like 1 to learn it, 2 to like give you what you want, and 3 to like give you what I want. And that's like, cool, like we're good. So sometimes it can be like that. Sometimes like if you're with somebody that like wants to push further, then like usually pushing further doesn't require like them learning more of the song, but it requires them like forgetting what they wanted to play and like trying to find something else, which it's almost harder to like forget what you've done than like, and like give it something else than like, especially on the same instrument. So I think for that, yes, I think it can be a number. But if you're with a really good player, be and record on the first take, or else at least the ideas that usually come through on like the first or second take are like, those are the ones, and you can go from there and like figure it out. But like for singers, it's like different. That's super individualistic as well. If you first take would be raw, but you better be super warmed up and like, I don't know, like really know the song essentially. But like other than that, it's anywhere from this feels right to you to this feels right to me, and everything in between.
No, that's Jules though. And I love how you brought in like the expanded on that, because it could have been vocals or instruments, and vocals are instruments.
Oh, true.
And I remember Amy Winehouse talking about that, like when it was like in her documentary or something, like she would just do it different every time. But essentially what you're saying, like how like being able to do what's hard, because you were saying that's not the easiest thing to do, like just forget what you did and try something else.
That's like you can learn that skill, I think. I don't know, I think you can learn anything, but like that's a super difficult one to like learn.
Yeah, not for sure, but I can see how that's really important. What's your routine, man? Like what do you do when you get up? Like how do you start your day?
Okay, well this is a work in progress at the moment, but we're getting there. This has been like a work in progress for like a year now. So this is where we're at right now. This is a new space, but I figured out that I'm not a morning person. First and foremost, I'm really not a morning person, and I'm trying to switch that if I can. I'm really trying. You hear about and like read about all these dudes are like super successful, and they all get up at like 4 a.m, and they like have their breakfast and like hang out with their kids, and then they like but they like work before that, and then they work after that, and then they all these things. So I think the morning. Say what?
So that's some Kobe Bryant vibes.
Right.
In the morning.
Damn, RIP. Also, shout out the Lakers for bringing it back home for Kobe. That was sick. So right now I wake up and I study Portuguese for an hour. So I've been dating somebody that's from Brazil. So I've been learning Portuguese in order to better communicate with her. And in like the hopes, or I guess not hopes, but the reality that I might move there at some point. So I start off with an hour of Portuguese. And then from there, as long as I don't like sit on my computer at all, which is like always the challenge, basically. The internet's always very attractive, especially right now, but it's also super anxiety filling. So try to stay away a little bit. So as long as I don't like sit on my computer, then I'm up and I make breakfast, Right now, breakfast is like 2 eggs with some fried onions, bacon, spinach, and a little piece of toast, right? And then we go
Yeah.
from there. We go from there to usually that's like then it turns to like email time. Or and if I don't have emails to go through, then I try to like there's a list of things that I have like right now. And this is a little nugget. I'm not even gonna trip. Mike Dean showed me his at one point, but like right now I'm making a spreadsheet for all of my contracts, so that I can keep track of them. Very important, actually, like very important, and I'm super happy to be finally doing it. Super happy that Mike put me onto that. But that's like that's what I work on if I don't have emails, and then from there I do like a little workout, and usually like a run, and then like a very short like workout, and that usually takes about like another hour, and then I get back home, make a smoothie, go to the studio, and then just either spend. I keep hitting my mic. I'm so sorry, Greg. Greg, was that right? Please say
Yeah,
yes.
it was.
Yeah. So I go back. I usually like go to the studio, and then if I've already made dinner, I've been in like this cooking mode lately. So if I've already made dinner and I'm like bringing leftovers, I'll bring leftovers here, like eat that. If not, sometimes I'll go back and make dinner and then come back, or I'll just go back and stay, or I'll stay here the whole time and just get dinner somewhere else. Like it's kind of like after a certain point, after I know the emails are done, I've learned this recently. I used to beat myself up for like not studying Portuguese when I like knew I should have been like on a daily basis. I used to beat myself up for like leaving emails for like way too long, which was like also it's just not a good call if you're in the music industry or like any sort of entertainment industry. It's like so the responsiveness is like such a part of it, like that you just should be. And so I remember like letting things like that slide, or like not working out. I'd get to the studio and I'm here all day, like, and it's like it's easy to sit here all day. I'm really used to that. It's like that's easy for me, but doing all these other things in the meantime is the more difficult part. So I figured out if I try to get all those done and then go to the studio, then I can look back on my day and it's like really really clear that I did what I really like needed to do, and then I did what I wanted to do, which is like great. So this is no family life with me at the moment. It's just me, so it's like it's really easy to do this now, but I imagine I'm trying to set up for if/when that like happens, basically.
That's fire.
Making time for these other people, because that's very essential as well. I believe it's really that's the challenge. The challenge is doing this and doing that, and like having both of them in healthy spaces.
Balance. Yeah, having healthy balance. And man, that's a great point. What you're saying. It sounds like you got to have discipline to do that successfully. What you're saying, like to have that routine, and then on top of that, like I think what you're saying is really important. Like just as much as you work in the studio, you got to work outside the studio. Like the stuff, like the emails, the networking, all of that stuff is really important to advancing, your career.
It's really real, and also I think I've definitely been through a lot of phases where I'm just kind of like I don't need to do so much of that, and I'm probably still in a phase like that. But especially if you're like grinding in the beginning, like obviously, and then if you want to keep that going, then you got to keep it going.
Yeah, I think, and that's universal. Like no matter what you're doing, it's you got to have that tenacity, just being on your stuff. That's fire.
Absolutely.
That's
What's your
fire.
routine right now?
Oh man, my routine is I get up, check my nostrils, like kind of superstitious, whichever side is the most open, I step out with that foot first.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo, okay, this is another level. Okay, great. Let's go.
Then I'm breathing. I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to wake up. So kind of just start off with awareness, jump straight in the shower. The faster I can get in the shower, like the better. So I won't touch my phone or nothing. So I get in the shower, I pray, meditate in the shower on, set my intentions, what I want to do. And then, just that gets me feeling balanced. Then I get out and have some water. I'll walk to Whole Foods like literally every day and go get a smoothie, go get a green smoothie, like, kale, blueberries. I'll be posting it sometimes
Mhm.
because I do it so much. It's like, oh. And, uh, after that, I'll come home and start checking emails and start seeing who texts me and stuff like that. I usually got a grip on the day then and a grip on my emotions, how I feel, and I'm aware,
Mm,
like, So
yeah, that's big.
then yeah, then I'm saying the smoothie kind of serves as my breakfast and lunch, low key, and
Feel
then
it.
and then yeah, and then I get into it. I dive into it. I'm on the emails. I do a little social media, but with social media I like to post and get off. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really on there surfing or nothing like that. But
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't, I think it's obvious at this point with the documentaries and everything, like it's just not healthy because social media platforms and the people that are making them are choosing not to be responsible with our mental health. When they could, they know, we don't need the
Right.
numbers, we don't need to see the followers and all of that. But I understand the
It's more
benefit.
comparison to cloud your creativity too, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, I'm saying that's pretty much the gist of it. It's a little bit more, but it kind of depends on what I'm working on too. Like if I'm working on an album, it'll start like that, and then I'll have like some things that are
Are you
different.
like really specific when you go to like when you're in album mode? So I mean, are you producing everything that you write right now? Or are you working with
Yeah,
other people as well?
I'm producing it all. I'm mixing
Okay.
it all.
Right.
I'll work with musicians. Like when I did my my newest project, and then or just to focus on the new single I just dropped, Life for the Party. I did it in Austin at an Airbnb, and I had this band. It's my band, my guys. They're called Distinguished Sound. They're dope.
Hey.
They would come through the house and like we'd just be jamming in the house. You know what I'm saying? But I would have ideas already made and flushed out. They would kind of just play on top of them.
Right.
Um, I just thought that was a really efficient way to work.
So do you break up your time then when it comes to like writing and producing, or it's all part of the same venture?
Um, I do kind of break up the time because when I'm producing, unless I just have an instant idea, that I pull out the voice memo and, just throw it down like, all right, and then I'll let it go and just keep it moving. And then, but yeah, I try to go turn off the switches of each thing. Like when I just did my video, I bought a camera, edited,
You're
shot,
wild for this. You're super wild. I
went
can't
on
believe
YouTube, learned how to color correct and everything.
that.
But when I was doing that, I wasn't like writing songs or even producing that much. I kind of took like 2 weeks out to like focus in and like take it serious and respect.
2 weeks, 2 weeks to make that video.
2 weeks to learn how to shoot videos and edit and
It's
stuff.
probably gonna upset. That's gonna upset some video people. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying that I was committed.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I think that anybody can do anything they want to do if they just commit to it.
Feel it. Feel
But
it. That's cool. So you don't go into it like when you go into your day and you start doing stuff, you're not like, oh, I gotta pull up this song and like work on the back, like the backing track. I gotta pull up this song and work on the backing vocals. I gotta pull up this song and work on the, you know, is it like that at all, or is it just always like kind of like where you're like at for the day?
I definitely appreciate structure and try to have like structure, but I don't think I'll get to that type of phase until I'm in a technical phase. So in the beginning, it's all free, creative, open-minded. Like I'm kind of just being putty, be like water, and just like whatever comes, I'm just kind of just staying open. And then I feel like what you're describing is like more of like the latter phase where I'm like, all right, I need to think from a technical perspective, like these vocals aren't good enough. I'm redoing all my leads. These backgrounds aren't cutting. I'm about to stack them some more. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's clear when you get to those places, like when between like this is we're in a creative phase and we're in like a finishing phase?
Um, it if you got a time limit, like I kind of
True.
like when I was working on the album, I like 2 months. That's all I'm giving myself. So then it kind of, that time created like, a way to get finished.
Right.
And then, but when I got back, I was mixing for like 5 months, like just going crazy, just tripping, just like, the kick needs to hit harder. And it's like, I don't know.
I assume that doing a mix twice is the same as like playing, maybe not playing a part twice, but like producing out a song in like two different ways.
Yeah.
I think is maybe akin, which I'm sure. Wow, I can't think about how many times you probably did that for.
What's that?
For Endless, actually, probably produced a song out in like a few different ways. I feel like that's what was happening. Like we come over and there'd be like three different. You're like, I tried like three different things and like,
for sure.
Yeah. So
because I would do something, and then Frank would come over and be like, nah, give me something more. He like, give me something I've never heard before, and I'm like, all right. And then
that's what I feel like doing another mix is like that same sort of like, sometimes, it's the same what we were talking about earlier, like forgetting the other thing and trying to do it. And with the mix, like as I'm sure you've seen now, it's like so many of like the technical things. It's like, well, I need less of this in this thing. It's like, but I already took out this frequency. So like, what else could it possibly be? And then you're like, there's only one replacement for that, unfortunately. And it's like, I'm sure there's some technology that does some really cool stuff that I just don't know about. But at this point, like for me, it's like there's only one solve for that, and it's time. It's like the time spent doing it is the only thing that's made me better at it. It's like, otherwise it's so easy to get lost in all of those places.
Yeah, for sure. It's, oh man, yeah. When it's down to one sound, oh my God, like you could easily get stuck on that.
Yeah, that'll ruin your day.
Yeah, I think when it gets to that, sometimes like it might be good to like, let somebody else do it. Be like, yo, let's collab on this joint. Check it. I'm at least, I'm open to that. But
Absolutely.
but technology is pretty crazy. Like there's so many crazy like plugins and stuff like that are like allow you to.
Are you using anything like weird, like that, like helps with that stuff?
I'm saying I'll use the Ozone and like straight like do the whole reference and let it analyze and like show me the frequencies, and sometimes just to write them down and use another plugin, like or it's stuff I want to try. Like I want to try that one Soothe. You heard of Soothe?
I don't know if I heard of Soothe yet. And
it's supposed to be like a sibilance like reduction, like if you got like, I don't know, some weird frequencies in the vocal.
That's cool.
It's supposed to be a smart plugin where it can just find it and pull it out.
This is great. A lot of like cheaper microphones that are like trying to emulate other things have a lot of weird top end in them, and then especially as like a younger engineer, like a lot of times it's very difficult to find where those things are coming from and like how to DS and where to DS and like all these things. And so I bet this is about to be a useful tool for a lot of people, like especially like even high level pros and stuff. So
what's your tricks to that? Do you have tricks to finding like the frequencies to pull out?
I got taught one thing one time a while ago. I don't really use it anymore because over time I've like learned how to find those on my own. But there was at one point somebody taught me how to use like this thing. There's this plugin called Paz Analyzer, right? It's like a spectrum like analyzer or whatever. And so you can go in, and if you just select like the S that you're like upset about, or like not upset about, but like the S that like sounds like all the ones in your song, then you can just select that, clear that like analyzer, hit play, and like that S is, you're gonna see where that S is, right? It's gonna shoot up, and you're just gonna go to your de-esser plugin, type in a little number.
Yep, exactly.
Pretty much good. That's like, like one of the ways to do it. I guess there's a lot that have like the spectrum, like a lot of EQs have spectrum frequency. This was before, I guess we had a lot of EQs that actually have spectrums in them. But so that's something for de-essing. I don't know. There's no, I hate, you know what the worst is that when I was like younger, I remember like hearing so much about like engineering and mixing, and people would just be like, oh, like all the older engineers would be like, you just listen, and it kind of tells you, it just kind of
Yeah.
tells you like what to do, and like if you just use your ears, and
Yeah.
like honestly, I used to get so upset about them. They'd be like, "There's no right or wrong. It's just kind of like where." I used to get so, and now it's like, okay, well,
Give me
that
the
is kind of,
tool.
yeah, that is kind of how it is though. Like
Yeah.
after a while,
When you have the wisdom.
if you're that, like if you're in that place, like if you're a mixer, if you're an engineer, it just takes time, but eventually it starts to like sit into that place, and you understand what those guys were saying. It's like there's so many areas of life where it's like where sometimes like phrases you've been hearing forever, that probably like sound corny to you, the moment when it like hits and it's like like
yeah. Yeah.
it's like sort of similar to that. And so that like that's growth, that's like,
Yeah.
especially when you start to master something, like, and it takes longer and longer to get to those places. Like sometimes those places are more so like the really corny things that you're just like, that didn't
Now it makes sense. Yeah.
So
Now it makes sense.
so de-essing is like one of those things. It's like there's a trick for it, but it's also like at this point I can sort of hear if, when, and where something like needs to be de-essed, and like if you can get away without it, cool.
I actually, I actually struggle with getting like a phenomenal vocal, because it's like in my head I have like this idea of like the crispiest vocal of all time, like just crystal clear and smooth and warm and like all of that, like, and it's like I struggle with doing that. Like I'll probably spend the most time on vocals when mixing, so I'm always curious like how to achieve that. That's why this is the first
frequencies.
Yeah,
that makes
pulling
sense.
stuff out, not adding stuff.
It depends. It's what kind of mic do you have there?
This is a Gemini 2 by SE.
Okay. I haven't used that.
Yeah.
But the other advantage, I'll always probably recommend that people use engineers or mixers or whatever. Obviously, like we can do it on our own. It's possible. But if you're going for that thing, the thing that you learn over time as an engineer is what that mic is supposed to sound like, right? So now when I get a mic, when I get like some other recording, like half of you like goes with the flow on like, this is what this mic sounds like, and the other half of you, he paused it. The other half of you like tries to like make it sound like the mic that you are like, that or want it to sound like. So for me, a lot of times it's like 47 or like a C800 or like something, these classic vocal microphones. It's like I've kind of used all of them enough to know. And so if you don't have one of those microphones, then like if you had one of those microphones, Troy, I bet it would be much easier than it is for you right now. So the advantage for somebody like me is I can hear your microphone that you're on. It's like it's not a 12. I'm assuming it's not 12. It could be a $12,000 microphone.
No, I think it's like 1,500.
Right. So, but if you give that to me, I'm gonna try to make it sound like the 12,000. And I've used enough of those to know what they're supposed to sound like, and that's part of the advantage, I guess. If I
that makes
explain
sense,
like what the advantage is. So, if what you have right here looks like a clone of a FET 47, which you should. I just thought about the other day. I don't really own. I've never been somebody to like own a lot of gear. I've never been like a gear person. So I will eventually be that thing, but this is a non-permanent space. I'm going to move out of here in less than, I don't know, like 16 days now or 17 days. So I've never been like a gear person, but I just thought about the other day, if I buy something, it's about to be, I think, a FET 47, like the Neumann FET 47, which is, I think, what this is modeled off of, what you're using is modeled off of, which is not cheap by any means, but it's like unbelievably versatile, and especially it would actually sound really good on your vocals, I think, as well.
All right.
Because it has a lot of like it would be, I think it would be really great for you, because your tone is really rich if you catch all the lows, like we're catching a lot of lows right now, but it's like you want to catch those lows, but also when you go to mixing, you don't have to cut all of them out in order to you know, to like make it sit right and like still have that body.
Yeah.
So if you get a nice microphone, certain nice microphones do that thing very well. U47 handles low end very well without, for some reason, without being like really bombastic,
Mm.
unless you want it to be, and then it's great. But like otherwise, other than that, it also has this like really, you know what's so funny? We used to this is like, oh, this is, maybe I shouldn't talk about this, whatever. We used to like, it was so funny because a while ago, maybe we'll have to edit this out. Bieber did like this video about whatever the Skrillex and Diplo song is that like was massive.
Yeah.
And he was like, these sounds are like so expensive.
Yeah.
And like, he's like, they just sound expensive. And we were all just like, I just remember being like, that's like he's right, but it's like a funny way to put it, sort of.
Right, exactly.
But I'm about to say the same about this mic. It's like, the thing is, it's not going to have the exaggerated top end that you're used to from like from a C800 or even maybe that mic there. Yeah. What it will have is the right top end. Right. And so when you boost that, when you're like, oh, I want more top end out of this, it's pretty. It's not gross. And you don't get all that like stuff that you're trying to de-escalate. Like, that is a very valuable thing to have.
Wow. So, that's a jewel, bro.
Yeah.
That's a jewel. So you're basically saying to be better with vocals, you need to up your knowledge of catalogs of different mics. You need to know what the different mics sound like to be able to choose what you want the vocal to sound like.
Definitely. That's super helpful.
That's jewels, bro.
But that's like sorry, finish what you were gonna say.
No, I was just gonna say, because that principle. That's a principle, because that works with producing as well.
Oh, interesting.
That like the bigger your catalog, like people, I would say probably when me and like, you know, Frank, Miguel and all, when we was like younger and stuff and kids, everybody was crazy about my drums. I hit that beat machine I still use. And but my secret to having crazy drums was my catalog in my head of knowing where my drums was and how many it was, because I was collecting drums since I was like 18. Like anytime I was engineering for somebody, I had the drums. Anytime I was, you know, I was sharing drums with other people that was into like, you know, crazy sounds and stuff like that. So my catalog was so crazy that like I could think of like anything and find it. So that was
that's cool.
But I feel like that's kind of what you're saying about mics.
It is, and you probably had the ability. You probably had the ability to take a sound that wasn't expensive and turn it into something that sounded expensive because you had the knowledge.
What all the different sounds sound like.
Exactly. Same thing.
That's
here's a serious question. Here's something else to approach. Do you think that sharing sounds leads to this question is going to be very leading. I'm going to try to make it not leading. Do you think that sharing sounds leads to homogeny, or like a homogeneous sonic sound to the things that we hear regularly?
No, I think record labels lead to that, because they like to, instead of cultivate and bring out more originality, they want people to sound more the same, because they think that equals money and more money. And that works for a little bit until it doesn't.
I feel that. I'll counter it with one thing. I think that's something I haven't thought as much about, but you're probably right, because it's probably like the thing, it's the money. So it's like dictating, you know, where people are going. Yeah. I spent time during like the sort of like the bubble of EDM. I spent time around a lot of like EDM producers, and at the time, and I see this very much in like the hip hop world now. I mean, now we're in like Splice Zone, so that's like a totally different thing. But I bet there's like a top 10 like on Splice that you get, everybody downloads these 10 kits. Yeah. But it's like that's sort of how it was. I saw you know, people sharing a lot of things, and I remember seeing this EDM community go from like what felt like a lot of originality to like a lot of I guess homogenous tones. That's a really obnoxious way to say it, but like a lot of things that everybody started sort of sounding like each other, and I was like, this isn't good for this genre. Like, you guys should probably be going for like more whatever. And I always associated that with like them sharing like with each other, like all of their secrets. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, part of me thinks we're getting to that like now, not only with like hip hop, but a part of it is also happening with like the I mean, we are a great example right now, but also like all of these like things where people are talking about, like, I don't think people should give like everything away, because I think there's a lot of things that should remain for originality's like purpose. But like, you know, but if I go watch every video that I find on like mixing per se, like on the internet, like I can already know what I feel like that's going to sound like. And I might be wrong. And that's obviously like also like can also be like a building block, just like everything can be like anything can be like a building block to a new place. But like,
for sure.
But this is like one of my theories, and I think we see it a lot now, but I think we will always respect like the people that we'll still always respect the people that use those things and use them well. It's like, you know,
that's what I think it comes down to.
Like this Jetson stuff bangs, you know, it's like that stuff hits hard, and he's not using like, I don't know if he's using like that Jetson made.
Oh, Jetson made, okay.
Yeah, that stuff like hits, and it's like, I don't know if he's using sounds that are like different than everybody else, but it seems like the way, like where his pockets are and the way he's producing it is like that stuff's hitting a little harder, because I think is what he's putting around it. And so it's like that you're always going to gain respect out of like using the right pieces.
I say to like, I feel what you're saying as a theory, but I feel like the cream always rises. Like basically, no matter, you can give every single person in the world the same jewels, the same information, same sounds, and you're gonna still have those few people that are tapped into their uniqueness, and they understand that like, I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to sound like me, and then those are gonna be the guys that cut through, you know.
And they also work harder than everybody else, just so everybody knows that. That's facts.
They work harder. I'm sure you would when you feeling yourself in a good way.
True.
Feeling yourself, you like, I like what I do, and that passion comes out in work ethic.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that place. I'm trying to get to that's the level of creativity I'm trying to get to, is where like, I like this. I bet maybe somebody else would like, you know. Every once in a while I hit that place. I'm like between that. A lot of times I'm between that, and I'm between like, oh, this really feels like me, and I love that. I want it to feel as much like a representation of me as I can. I don't really know any better way to say that, but I love, those are my favorite things that I make personally. It's like all the things that feel like this representation of, if I'm just like, this is what I sound like, you know, as like a song. That's like,
that's fine.
That's my goal right now. Like,
that's fine.
Emphasize that, and then put to practice like all of the other things, like all of the other tools, and like all of the other I don't know, genres or whatever else, like that. All these are all like still tools, you know.
I think that is more spiritual than people give credit to. I feel like that's part of self-awareness. That's part of being grounded. That's part of being tapped in.
What was your bar the other day? Oh, I'm definitely not going to remember this.
What were we? Oh, I don't know. I feel like it had something to do with.
Oh, it was something about no, it wasn't about the fridge.
Well, it was about adding new skills to your already, you know, to your skill set already. So if you have your skill set, we're talking about adding new skills, and how it doesn't take away from the skills that you already have. It's just like you put those in the refrigerator.
You
know,
warm them up later.
Then when you need them again, you might be a little rusty or cold, so you got to just warm them up.
I love that.
Do it a little bit, and it'll come right back. So it's nothing wrong with learning new things, like, you know.
I love that.
But there's such a big taboo around having multiple skill sets. Like that's why that's a thing. Like
there is.
To be a jack of all trades, it has a negative connotation to it.
I feel even as I'm like trying to move more into like production than like this engineering stuff, even, you know, my stuff is like really direct as far as like my presence in like on like the internet is like really direct right now to like as an executive producer, because I feel very strongly that I'm good at making entire projects, and that's like a thing that I'm really good at. I'm really good at like finishing, or like knowing what maybe should or shouldn't, or like what could or couldn't, or like, you know, all of these things. And then also having the ability to be like, you know, it's like even if I'm not mixing a project, the ability to be like, here's a mix on it. Like, is this there? You know, is like a there's so many of these like valuable things, but I get caught up in the fact that like, if I'm not really direct with like how I position myself, then I feel like that leaves like these openings, you know, especially when you're really good at one thing. It's like, I'm sure it's like any artist that feels like really held into like one area of their like songwriting, maybe, is like, you know, they had that one hit, like, you know, they're, you know, years ago. And like, then now it's like the label always wants like that thing again, or like the people do. And it's like, they're usually, it's like a development thing, but yeah, I'm trying to remember where I was going with that. Oh yeah. So I like, you know, for me, it's like, it feels like I need to be really direct, or else you're right. You're totally right. It's like this having like how this is another question. It's like, how proficient can you be in multiple things at once? And what does that level of dedication, like what is the required level of dedication in order to get to that place? Like that's, to me, it feels like a lot, you know, like for, you know, 10 years, this is like, I did 10 years of engineering, and I feel really well versed in it. And I think that stuff will be applicable, but my peers who keep engineering constantly will inevitably like rise above me to a degree.
But the thing that I would add to that is that as you, if they just focus on that one thing, they will get better and better and better and better at that. But with you doing other things that you're attracted to, and that's attracted to you, changes your DNA, like, if you will, like into where you're something else. You aren't just an engineer anymore. You're something else. So, but that only adds to your uniqueness, which is what you can offer to the world, which is tight. Like, that's just amazing, you know?
I trip up on that constantly, where it's like,
where
I'm just like, you know, I know there's the thing in the back of my mind knows that being an engineer and having that thing, I know that that's good for me in the long run. I know that it is just in terms of even just like getting here. It's like been super useful, and nobody will like look at me, you know, in a different way. If I can be really successful as a producer as well, then people are only going to look at that and be like, you did what? You know, you did that really? Like that's an ill place to be. Be like, oh, you switched up completely, and like you like, you know, and you were tight in like this and in this fire. Like that's ill. I don't know what it takes to get to that place, and especially to be like legitimized on like a super high level in like two different arenas is like, that's tough. That's like scary. I think about that. I'm scared. That's the thing that I'm scared of, is like I've like legitimized myself in one area, and the attempt to legitimize myself in another is like, that's, you know, you're playing the game all over again. That's what it is. That's what, so like, it's like, you know, back to, that's why it's like back to cooking, like back to like broke mode. I don't have like any like responsibilities right now.
Stoicism.
Like, sure. Yeah. Like back to these like places. It's almost like this reminder of just like, you grind and like, I don't have this is gonna sound sad than it is. I'd have plenty of friends, but I don't have a ton of friends in the city right now. But I don't have a ton of friends in the city right now. Nature of a city is that like people move out of it. So like I don't have a ton of friends in the city. So it's almost this like optimal place. I knew that going into this, and I was just like, this is the time for this, because like I don't have a ton of responsibilities outside of this, or something to feel that way. And I remember when I was 22 and 23, and like I remember having a ton of friends and feeling terrible for having to neglect them all the time. But I was trying to get from A to B as fast as I could. So that's what it took.
Yeah, it's a journey, man. Success is a journey. It's not a destination, and you're in a race with yourself and nobody else. So
I know that's the bar. I already know
that's the bar. Well, we're gonna wrap it right there, man. This was fire, man. I appreciate you coming on. I'm Troy NōKA. This is the process. We're going to keep it going.
Peace.
Thank you, bro.
so hot like the summer I shine. Cassius Clay with the jazz. Jesus turn water to wine. Watch me turn hustling to cash. On my way to 2,000.